Well, we must be doing something right because the gods are smiling on us this morning down at Networking in Nature. We've just had an absolutely beautiful morning walk through the Botanic Gardens here in Sydney. And this morning we were joined by the wonderful Kerry Boys, Phil Cross from Leaders for Good. And as we walked around the gardens and made new connections and deepened our friendships, we were also enlightened and inspired around this idea of purpose in business, which Phil and Kerry talked a lot about this morning and sparked our conversation. So just for those who weren't able to attend, I want to really quickly recap what we were talking about. Phil, maybe you can start us off with, I guess we started this morning's journey just looking pretty broadly at the case for purpose. Do you want to recap a little bit about that, and then maybe Kerry, you can jump in and... Did you just get swooped?
I was going to say, we just got swooped. That was caught live on camera. We'll leave that in. That's good.
We'll leave that in.
I didn't even notice.
We'll just pretend it didn't happen and continue as we are. And then maybe you can talk a bit about that second part, which we were talking about, how purpose comes into the fray in terms of disruption and what that can look like, and maybe ways that people can reflect upon their context and how purpose might be able to help them be more effective in what they're doing. So Phil?
Sure. So thinking about the opportunity for businesses to have more of an impact in the world, and we think about purpose through the lens of the triple bottom line. Some of you might be familiar with that model, but really we're talking about organizations focusing not just on being profitable, although that's very important, that's the lifeblood of organizations, that enables good work, but also focusing on people and planet with how they think and how they measure success. And really the case for this comes down to we think of it in three separate ways. The responsibility of business, it's the deeply human thing to do to try and create a world where we have meaningful work and that we're having a positive impact on people and planet. We think about it in terms of the opportunity. So we know purpose-driven businesses attract and retain better talent. They attract more customers and retain them. Investors are more interested in purpose-driven businesses. And employees, as an employee value proposition, the talent and the attention is on purpose-driven organizations. And the final pillar is the threat. So organizations that are not focused on how they can do good in the world are opening themselves up to a world of potential reputational damage and loss of function as an organization. So very top level, that's kind of how we're thinking about it.
And we had some really good conversations around that, and people sharing where their organisations were from a purpose perspective and what more they could do. And I think what was especially interesting to us, because we talk about this concept of the purpose gap. So almost every business says they have a purpose, and of course you want a purpose. We've just heard how beneficial purposes can be, but actually the number of organisations that truly embed purpose is super small, only about 26%. So what we found in the conversations that we were having was around why organisations aren't embedding more purpose, and the fact that can be hard, and we have to make it simple and easy and try and provide the frameworks to help leaders and organisations do that.
I think one of the other really interesting points that Kerry, you had talked about was looking at purpose not just within the immediate control of the organisation, but looking a bit more broadly into the ecosystem and all the stakeholders that surround an organisation, including even the supply chain. I'd love if you could just recap that, because I thought that was a really helpful thing that people should have a think about.
Yeah. So part of the conversations we had as we were walking around the garden was people having ideas on where they could help their organisations have a bigger impact. And one of the, not necessarily simplest, but one of the areas is around your supply chain. So Unilever is a great example of being really good at this. And Bank Australia. So both those organisations have really strict parameters around the suppliers they'll work with. So unless these suppliers are having a positive benefit for their community and for the environment, they won't work with them. And how can you think about that as an organisation or an individual level? So the simplest example is, who provides your energy? Are they providing renewable energy? Switching something like your energy provider or your bank or your super fund can make such a huge difference with really actually a pretty small effort from you, which is effectively a phone call.
Well, what I loved about this morning was I felt like we had a very nice, mature conversation, because I think the high-level message is profit. Good. Profit's fantastic, but how can we also maximise the positive impacts on people and planet, as you said, and it's just a nice thing to constantly come back and reflect and try and improve upon as leaders within organisations and within communities. So yeah, thanks again for that. That was a really inspiring and enriching morning, and we hope to have you back again in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love to.